In this demonstration, we'll see how to connect to a PowerPivot cube, how to analyze the data, find insight, then apply data security and share the results with the rest of the user community. So, assume somebody already published a PowerPivot cube to SharePoint and asked me to analyze the best-selling cities in 2004 in this document. And this document is actually the PowerPivot cube published to SharePoint. We'll use NovaView Flash Analytics and we'll pick just any briefing book to start with. The briefing book already shows some data. There are some views against maybe relational data sources or analysis services, and what we'll do is go to the NovaView wizard, and except for the existing data sources types, there is a new type called PowerPivot, which is exactly what we'll use, and type in the PowerPivot model we are about to connect. Next, and save the new view under PowerPivot folder in the briefing book. We'll call this view Best Cities, click Finish, and wait for the view to be created. The default view comes with some default layout with some attributes on the crosstab, not necessarily what we're looking for. So the first task to do would be to go to the filter pane and define the world, the scope of our attributes. In the dimension selector, we'll start searching for attributes we need for our analysis. And since in PowerPivot there are usually hundreds of attributes, it's extremely useful to define our world like this before starting the analysis. So I'm selecting the city and region attributes and some time attributes and some color and model name, some attributes of the product. I can also scroll down or use the search. I think we have enough. Once done, clicking on the Apply button, and back to the filter pane. So here we are with all the dimensions, and next thing to do would be to define our grid. As we'd like to analyze the best-selling cities, we'll put cities on rows, and a time, actually calendar year, on columns. Finally, we'll select the right measure, and the measure we'd like to use is sales amount, and apply ranking on 2004 to get the top cities. Let's chart this data, and basically here we are. The best-selling city is London, then Paris, and so on. Let us save this view in the same location, so we basically can use this Save View option. And the first part of our project is done. We just connected to PowerPivot cube, manipulated the data, came to some conclusion, came to some view, and saved it in the briefing book. Next thing to do would be to define security. So in the management tool, I'll set up security for an Active Directory user called administrator. because this is the user I'm logged in with, so I'll be able to demonstrate the data security. In the data access rights, I'll load the same view we just created, so I can access the same data. And we'll base our security on a geographic attribute called region. So basically it will be something like every person, every sales manager would be able to see only his region while accessing the same PowerPivot model. And in our specific case of best cities, every sales person would be able to see the best-selling cities in his region. So opening the same view, let's find the region dimension. As agreed, selecting United Kingdom. The data is sliced and the dimension restriction appears behind defined. That's it. At this point we'll move to the SharePoint portal, SharePoint 2010, in which I already created a page with NovaView Flash Analytics web part in it. Here is the page. And since I'm logged in as the same administrator for whom we just defined security, I should be able to see only the relevant data for myself, even though this is the same generic view deployed to SharePoint and based on the same PowerPivot model. So as the view comes up, we can see that we still have top cities by sales by 2004, but this time, even though London is still the best city, we see only cities from UK. And if we open the filter pane, we see that the only region we can access is UK, based on security we just defined. Now, even though inside SharePoint this is still interactive component, the same Flash Analytics with functionality we decide to give our users. For example, they can continue and analyze the data by adding some growth formula from the last year to current year, adding this growth to the chart, actually like this, maybe rotating the chart to illustrate growth better. We would pick it to be displayed as line chart using second y-axis, like this, and maybe let's just leave the chart on the screen. So we can see that the highest growth is in Newcastle and sales, as we already know, in London. That's it. Let's repeat what we just achieved. We used NovaView Flash Analytics to connect to a PowerPivot model which was published before to SharePoint. Then we answered some business question, defined security for a specific UK-based user, and published the view to the SharePoint portal.